All right. Hello and greetings to you, viewer from across the tubes. I am Gnarly Quack, although my friends and enemies call me Carl, and I'm back working on Dr. Strangetest, my testing framework for PHP. Let's see. And I think I left things off a clean state last night. I was beginning to implement some of this case-insensitive handling of uh, finding tests and stuff. So we started by basically normalizing PHP identifiers. I guess that was in here. And then yesterday we did the work of resolving dependencies case-insensitively. Insensitively. I guess that's a word. And now today, I guess the second part of that is going to be doing the same thing for tests specified on the command line. So let me just run everything, make sure everything's clear. Looks like it. And I guess I'll start by maybe seeing what kind of tests I have. I guess this would be in test targets. I think we just have the one test file in there. So I'm not necessarily so what are we doing when we insert targets here? I guess okay, so I guess we're making tests. Oops. So it looks like we're doing something fairly similar to what we're doing in setup, and maybe this code could actually be consolidated. I don't know. But I guess what we want to do then is... Oh wow, we've got 21 tests in here. So I guess we want to find everything case-insensitively. So what are we doing here? I guess I'm curious what we've got resources in here. So I guess we're just sort of parsing this directory, and then we are just using that to find make sure that we're actually only picking out a subset of tests based on what we specify. So I guess what we want, well, paths we don't care about, function targets I guess we care about. So let's so cool. Already came in handy. So let's just start test. insensitively. So I guess what we want to do is just uppercase those. And oops, we've got to get back out into my root directory, and it found those. So I guess we actually fixed that yesterday. So do we have class targets? All right, so guess we'll just, oops. Well, I guess it doesn't matter if I, so now that should fail, right? Okay. So what, we got 2 failures? Which doesn't seem right. Test. So what is going on here? Assert targets. Oh, okay, yeah, we got some errors. So it's saying test 3 is not a class, test 1 is not a class. Okay, that's what we expect. And then I guess we just grabbed everything. Although I would not have expected null. Uh, Not that it really matters, but I guess we can bump this up above all these helper assertions. So am I... feel like I should class... Oh, you know what it is? This is what it is. Then, Okay, so that should sort that out. So we actually got these errors. And we expected that to be empty, and then we expected this, but we actually got nothing. Okay, so that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so what do we have? A class specifier, I believe. So let us see where we're doing this. So again, I think we just might need to do that. And that, I guess, might fix that. Yes, okay. So this might actually be quite a bit easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought there was going to be a lot more finickiness in here. So then we have case-insensitively. So let's just make those all uppercase, I guess. Um, so we immediately just overwrite that. So I guess that's all we need to do there. I suppose I should look to see where else. 1, 2, 3, and suppose I should check this a little bit more. So class specifier, so we create a new class specifier. We add class from a test specifier. And this is here, and I guess we want to do the same thing here. So I believe, right, this is a test, class test. and then test goes to class info. So that's the that's the class specifier. Then that gives us the class test, and that gives us the. So I guess we want to do this and. And what else are we doing here? So then we get the child name. What else are we using the child name for? I guess that's it for there. Okay, so now we're just adding that to the specifier. Oops. I'm a little surprised. I don't remember what we call this. Build test from specifiers. So we parse them and then we build them. So add runs from specifier. Then what do? We add file tests from specifiers, and then here add class. Here. Here, I guess we need to do this. Method test. Oh no, wait. Yeah. This is identifier. Okay, so if so otherwise we just grab all the tests out. Okay. So I think that should probably fix that. Normalize. Identifier. So that looks good. And excuse me for 1 second, I'm actually going to use the bathroom for a minute. So yeah, I'll be back momentarily. Okay, I should be back. Looks like I am. So is that it? What other tests do I have in here? So let me just, I feel like there may be some stuff there that, so path specifier. So what are we doing here? I guess we need to make sure we are, um, I guess that's the only test here, so so I guess we just need to make that. I guess we can delete some of those empty those empty lines there. Okay, so where are we parsing? Right, this is parse file specifiers, class, I guess in here, in run specifier. So let's see. So name, where are we getting names from? Okay, so names for exploding by the names of stir, what are we doing with this name there? Specified equals, so what is reference? Reference is a path specifier. So here, I guess, maybe I'll throw to do in here. Actually, I don't know if I need that here. This is so we need to see what is in a path specifier. So runs no, wait, references what? An array of path specifiers. Hey, Bazin. How are you? I'm doing well. Doing well. Hoping to wrap up this project. So where are we getting reference from? For each... We're grabbing the group. Oh wow, that is late. Did you do something after school? Oh, okay. Is that just like when school gets out late or? So if that is set, we want to grab the name from... Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's right here. I think we want to set the name to... I guess we'll do normalized here. Then runs normalized name. Oh wow, okay. So your school day runs different lengths depending on the day, huh? Like some days are shorter and some days are longer. Yeah, I was out of town this past weekend. So I went down to Tennessee with a friend, so was not able to stream. No, not yet, not yet. But I guess you never know when a streamer does. I guess it's to say you never know when somebody's going to show up to watch you, and the people watching never know when the streamer's going to stop, I guess. But thank you. I guess I will probably, unless I just decide I don't like it or something like that, I'll probably continue streaming until I at least get a job. So if I land, just so I can kind of stay in the habit of programming and stuff. But I guess I'll have to see what happens if I get a regular, 9 to 5 job, if those exist anymore. Okay, so specifier here is... Okay, we just set the runs on specifier to... So path specifier. right? Is that what I just said? Yeah, set the runs here. So now I guess we need to see where else. I'm not sure this is actually correct here, setting the actual name versus the normalized name. Wow, we use that all over the place, don't we? Oh, I took the clippers to it, so it's not a clean shave, but it was a lot scragglier yesterday. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, I haven't been very well at keeping a schedule, but that's kind of, I guess, one of the motivators here. So I'm trying to get going a little bit earlier, maybe around 10 or by noon my time. So I think I was a little bit afternoon, but I was screwing around. I was thinking about doing a little bit of like October or Hollywood theming for some of my stream stuff, and I don't know, that just turns into a huge time waste. Oh, nice, nice. So I kind of got I was gonna stream about an hour before I started, but I'm like, let me just maybe see if I can update my title cards for Halloween, and then that sucked up an hour. So just kind of for fun, but you got to keep it fun. You can't spend your whole day doing that stuff. Okay, so I think hey John, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Welcome back. So I think in this case we just pass this along. Okay. I guess I can just save this and see what's going on. That seemed to work. Have you been is it like a hard J like Jama, or is it a soft J like Yama? But how are you doing? So here in what are we doing with I guess this would be invalidate runs. Let's see. Do you mean right there? Where my finger's kind of pointing? No, it's actually a it's a cutout from my kitchen. So basically like a window. So that's the kitchen on the other side. And it just kind of looks out of the windows of my front room here. How are we setting rents here? That is a... okay. So here, so here we just set... So what do we have? We have parse file. So here we're just taking the different things, and so I don't think we really touch this then again until we start building the actual test suite. So what are we doing with? And I assume we're just setting this on the parent now for this stuff. Yeah. Okay, so then we're building tests from specifiers. Then we create an empty run group, then we add runs from the specifier. So I guess I feel like this is where we need to check. Add a run group from specifier. So that's the child and that's the parent. So this is where they run specifier iterator. Where are we getting this iterator from? It's being passed in. Hey Split, welcome back. Is 14 an uncommon size, Bazin? How you doing, Splev? It went okay, I guess. I didn't feel bad about it, but they didn't want to move ahead, so that's that, I guess. So I guess that means it didn't go great. Thank you for asking, though. I appreciate that. So we're creating that. Yeah, I've got another one lined up next week. I mean, I guess you never know. I feel less confident about that one. I feel like it's more of a reach for me. It's a company that does a lot of embedded programming, I guess. Well, I don't know. I'm going to find out, I guess, with an interview. It's just a real short introductory interview, but uh, it's a little bit more of a reach, I feel like, than the last place I interviewed. But we'll see what happens. You never know. All you can do is talk with people and see what happens. And try not to say something stupid in the process. Okay, so this is coming from the runs. And specifier is have specifiers. Okay, so this is just an array of strings. Okay, so and then a run specifier iterator. We just get this array of strings, an array of an array of strings. Oh yes, that makes sense. So we set specifiers to just the array that gets passed in. Then we set the index, and then we set names to just the first element in the specifiers if there is one. Okay. And so that's what we're passing in there. So next run is so we're returning that as an array. If this name index is less than count, we pull the current name out of the current names, and if that's not empty, then we add it to the result and then advance the index and then return that. So why are we returning that as Thanks so much for stopping in, Splev. Have a good one. So I guess names must be names should just be an array. That seems weird to me. Next run. So I believe what we're saying here next run. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, thank you, Bazin. Appreciate that. Yeah, you can't, well, I don't know. I guess I'm still at the beginning of the process, so I'm, if it's 6 months down the line and I keep, oh, sorry, then I'll probably feel a little bit more, more down, but I guess, right, you can't let it get you down. You can't take it personally, I guess. Oh, but I guess you can try and become a better marketer, so to speak, which I'm not a great marketer, so. Okay, so this makes sense to me. It's just a little bit weird. Yeah, that's true. Well, I was they had kind of reached out to me because I went to that job fair. And then I just looked into them and they sounded like a good company. So it wasn't like uh I had really made first contact with them. They had made contact with me, and when I looked into them, I was like, okay. But this other one I'm talking with, I went up and talked to them at the job fair, and their work seems interesting. So this one's a little bit more. I kind of initiated contact, but I feel like I'm not going to really have the experience that they're going to want. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. You never know. So I guess what I'm saying here is I don't want to use the actual run name. I want to use um, basically that run hash, right? Because when where are we setting these? I guess validate run here, right? Yeah, so we may want to wow, you already need to start for next summer? It's not even, it's still fall, man. Is it technically even fall? I think it's technically, so when does fall? Oh, I guess fall probably happened September 20th. Okay, yeah, so it is fall. Like October seems a little bit late, but it's like October 20th or September 20th. I guess around September 20th. So, oh yeah, I just looked it up. It was September 22nd, if you believe if you believe Google, which I don't feel like they would lie about that, but you know, who knows? All right, so I think we just want to keep name equals to normalized. In fact, is there any reason to not just flat out overwrite that? Where else are we using name here? Oh wow, okay. That seems that seems way early. I feel like, well, I guess it depends on the the job. Yeah, so I say we just get rid of that name. So I guess what we'll do is we'll just change this logic. If it's an asterisk, which just means matching any name. Otherwise, then we'll do this. We'll normalize that. That'll just save us needless normalization. It turns out it's an asterisk. And then if it's set, we'll increase the name index. Otherwise, we'll just set name to the empty string. Otherwise, we have an error, and then we just add the name. So I think that works. I probably need a little bit more robust testing of that. I don't know. So are you going to university then? After, because right, you're in like high school now. I don't know if in Austria they have the same kind of breakdown of school years. Right, but you said you're done with school, so do you just mean you're done with high school, or do you not just go to college, or you're not going to college? I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know how the education system compares in Europe versus the US here. Okay, so this was what? The process run? Add runs from specifier. I guess this is it. So oh, okay. Oh, so you do your year of service before going into university? All right. So okay. So I guess that might be it. I guess we don't need to save up that. That hash for that. Cool. Hey, Vrug, how are you? Welcome. Rubte? Welcome, how are you? I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Okay, yeah. Hegel is easier, so I guess I'll say that. Thank you. Well, I guess that's it, huh? It's going well. I'm hoping to kind of wrap it up and maybe move on to something different. Uh, I've got kind of the last few features that I'm working on here. Then I guess I'll probably just make sure we're working okay on 8.2. And then I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna like make this like a 1.0 release just because no, like it doesn't really have a user base, so it'd just be nice for it to have more of a user base and have more testing. Yeah, I currently have 0.1. So I'm just kind of adding a bunch of more features that I wanted to get added. So I'll probably do like a 0.2. I don't know. Are you a PHP programmer or do you work with PHP? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, depending on who you talk to, I guess some would say all PHP code is terrible. I'm not one of those people, but oh, okay. All right. Yeah, most of my work is was well, uh, was sort of a back end, and this isn't really like a web thing. It's just a testing framework, so it's not really even for websites. It's just to test your code. I don't know how familiar you are with PHP, but it's kind of like an alternative to something like PHP unit. Yeah, I do. I do. These are all my tests in here. So basically, the sort of the yeah. Well, this won't work, right? This is specifically for PHP, so if you're working with like JavaScript and stuff. But yeah. Um, but like you'll see, yeah, yeah. No, that's true. But so, kind of the premise of this is this automatically discovers all your tests. So you don't have to sort of manually build your test suite. Um, Back when I started this, because this is not a new project, but I've kind of left it and come back to it over the years. Um, with like PHP in it, you kind of had to have like a setup file or a bootstrap file that would manually, where you would have to sort of manually tell PHP unit what tests you wanted to run. Yeah. So this, as long as all your tests are in a directory name that begins with the word test or in a file that begins with the word test, it'll automatically discover them. I think it's changed. I haven't used it, PHP unit. I haven't used it lately. But you'll still see projects where there's like they have XML files where I don't know, they have their test suite laid out or they manually add directories. But so the other thing then is I guess it doesn't really matter. But also so it automatically parses your files as well. So any function that begins with the word test, or I don't have any classes in here, I believe, but same thing. So you can use functions or classes. So as long as they start with the word test, it finds it all, and you don't have to. So here you can just define this class. You don't have to like extend from a test case, like a parent test case class. You just have to start the class name with test. And then PHP 8 added attributes. So now you can just do you can just tag it with the attribute test, and then now the framework will find that. And you can do that with methods and classes and functions. So that's basically it. Kind of automatic test discovery. You don't have to subclass from like an abstract class. And there's other things too. It supports dependencies between other classes or other tests, I should say. And you can like parameterize your tests and run them multiple times with like different arguments. So I've tried to make it fairly feature complete. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. It's come out pretty well. I actually splurged for the domain, so I actually have a website for it. So if you're curious about it, that's kind of the documentation and stuff. And that also has a link to the source repository. So yeah, if you care to look at it a little bit more, those are the pertinent links. But again, like nobody's really using it, so I'm kind of gonna wrap this up to where I kind of want it with features. Probably do 0.2 and then move on to something else. And if people start using it, right, I always come back. I can always come back to it and keep working on it. All right, so I guess I feel like I may want to do a little bit more. Yeah. Oh, you know what? It's not actually. Basically, I didn't even think about that. It's not actually a reference to Doctor Strange. It's a reference to the movie Doctor Strangelove, whose subtitle is "How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb." So that's why I subtitle "How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Test the Code." Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Hagel. Yeah. Oh, well, I guess I'm showing my age on that one. I've only seen the first Doctor Strange movie, but I don't even know how many there are now, two or three. And that's why I kind of tried to pick like a little bit of the same font and stuff. But yeah, that's the reference. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've kind of I watched like kind of the first batch of Marvel movies, but then they started doing in their movies that they do in their comic books where they tie them all together and cross them all over, so it's like you can't just see one Marvel movie, you have to see them all. And that's why I stopped reading their comic books. I'm like, I just want to read Spider-Man. I don't want to read six other comic books. Oh, I didn't see her. Oh, yeah, I did see that about you could do you had your choice. But thanks for stopping in, Basin. Have a good one. Well, lately, so I'm not actually working professionally as a programmer right now, and so most of the projects I've been doing lately have been in like C or C++. Um, and then before that, I was kind of playing around with Python a little bit, but then I got into C a lot, and I kind of just decided working with statically typed languages was a lot easier to work with, and that's why I'm actually using a static analyzer with my test suite here. I'm using PHP Stan. Uh, well, I guess I haven't really thought about it. Yeah, I guess I was thinking more like like applications or systems programming. Uh, but since I don't have a background in that, I don't know because I am looking to get back into software development. So I don't know how hard of a transition that'll be because I was out of the industry for a little while. And so I was just programming to sort of keep my skills up. So I don't know. Since I have so much experience in PHP, that might be the easiest way for me to get back into it. But I guess I kind of want to move a little bit out of web dev, but I have to see what's out there. But I'm not against it either. Like at this point, I'm kind of whoever wants to hire me to program, then I can right. I can start putting more experience on my resume. I just yeah. No, I just when I started programming with C and I was like watching the Handmade Hero series and doing game programming, although I don't game too much, but I do find that type of programming kind of interesting. Although I do actually enjoy sort of database programming as well, but just kind of working a little bit at the lower level, I found was a lot of fun and gives you a little bit more control over the computer than like working with PHP. But there's trade-offs too. There's a lot I'm doing here that if I was trying to write this in C or even C++, this would be probably the code base would probably be 10 times the size of what it is in PHP. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, so I guess what time is it? I guess I'll just commit this and I'll push it up to the repo. What branch am I on? Oops. Let me just make sure I'm logged into GitHub here. I guess I am. I'm thinking. I just want to make. Yeah. I'm thinking about doing a like a desktop GUI app with C++, probably Qt, like a personal accounting app. Just because I'm on Linux and I use Cache and I've used it for a while, but it has its annoyances. And I do find so it'd be something that I would personally use, even if nobody else used it. So a little bit different from the test framework. It's something I would use, and I do find accounting kind of interesting. Yeah, probably does. I don't know how much. Like, I wouldn't be able to like file your tax returns and everything, but it'd be more sort of basic accounting, I guess. Yeah, exactly. And like I'm much more comfortable in C than C++. Um, so I kind of, well, I guess if I'm using Qt for the GUI library, then that's written in C++. So I would have to use it, and then I guess I could either sort of do the back end, the non GUI part in C. But it seems like it'd just be easier to do the whole project in C++ and then improve my C++ skills. So that's kind of my thinking. I guess I could also program it in C and use like GTK. But I kind of don't really like GTK is becoming really like GNOME specific. So I feel like Qt is a little bit more platform agnostic. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, there's another streamer, RW Grimm. He does a lot of it, but this is it here. It's basically a GUI library written in C, but it's mostly for Linux. But I don't know if you're on Linux, then and you use like GNOME. This is like the GUI library. Yeah, just the GUI library. Well, I mean, it's more than a GUI library. It's a widget toolkit, I guess, is the technical term for it. But for creating graphical user interfaces. Oh, do they use CSS? I don't know. I guess a lot of them now for styling, they basically just have CSS parsers, and you can write CSS to style the widgets. I don't know. I haven't. I don't know. I've used a little bit of GTK and also a little bit of Qt, but not enough to. I've never like tried to style my own widgets. But that's my thoughts of for my next project. And then this is more Qt is I don't know is more cross-platform and written in C++. And I think they've also lately been doing, not that I want my app to be a mobile app, but um, it's a lot more cross-platform where GTK is kind of more and more, I feel like, becoming specific for the specific Linux like desktop environment. Go ahead. But that was not the window I wanted to open. PWAs, personal web apps. Oh, progressive web apps. Oh, as opposed to desktop. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have very few applications I guess I have on my desktop right now. I mean, I've got any games that I have in my web browser and OBS and I guess a video editor, but I don't know, I guess I feel a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know, maybe I'm just old school, but I guess that's one of the reasons I like doing that for like an accounting app is I don't know how much I would want to have my financials all like up in Quicken's cloud. So yeah. Is that kind of isn't there like a project or a tool where and maybe this is what you're thinking of, you can like bundle like it bundles the browser and then like your site just to like install locally. Oh, okay. Okay. So what is it? Just using like then like browser side storage. So um so you like go to the website and just to kind of run the app, but everything's stored locally in the browser sort of thing. Okay. I guess I don't really know what. Huh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Huh. So I guess that's kind of like one of the big deals with WebAssembly. You could like write it in whatever language you want and almost right, I guess almost any toolkit you want, and then it just sort of compiles it to run in the browser. Because I played around with WebAssembly, I think just enough to do like a hello world or something. Huh. Yeah. So I guess my only thing then, though, is like, wouldn't you still need? I mean, does it download the whole application locally, so you don't even need to go back to the website to run it? Okay. Oh, so the app can decide sort of whether to live, to kind of download itself and live locally. Huh. Interesting. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I get that. Well, this doesn't seem like a fair comparison. Does that include the web browser? Right. Yeah. Well, good software in general is hard to find these days. Right. Yeah. Well, but I feel like so the native app, right? I'm sure it's large because it links to native libraries. Like just right, if you download like was it Android Studio and start an empty project, you're starting at like 100 megabytes. So should I count that? Like I haven't typed a piece of code and I have like this 100 megabyte app. So that's all I'm saying, I guess. I don't know for sure what it is, but when you start an empty or Android Studio project, it's not 0 bytes, I guess is all I'm kind of saying. No, I know, I know. Huh, interesting. All right, well, let me take a look at I guess I feel like I probably need to do a little bit more testing on that, but I don't really feel like doing that right now. Let me take a look at my notes here. Oh, no, 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 yeah. Now it's interesting to think about. Um, yeah, I guess I have to think about it. Hmm. So I think these notes I took care of. Yeah, I might. Well, I kind of see that's kind of the route I'm going. I would almost want to write my own GUI, but I also don't want to take 2 years writing a GUI. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll just use Qt or something. All right, so oops. Let me check what is this in? This is in so this is discover class, I believe. Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, it's not necessarily about a different, I don't know, feel, but it's like so many things get so bloated these days. It's like, okay, I have a thing that does 90% of what the other thing does, and it's 10% of the size, or it does it the way I want things to be done. I don't, there's not a bunch of like glitchy or buggy or bad decisions or decisions I don't agree with that I have to work around or just live with. Which is kind of like the motivation for this test framework, because I mean, this is the origins of this project are about 10 years, and this is probably actually the third version of this, although this version has lived the longest. But I just kind of got frustrated with some of the testing tools I was using, and I was like, well, how hard is it to write my own? So that's kind of the origins of this project, and there's a lot of things like besides just like the automatic discovery. There's like I've it does like you can declare so it automatically like discovers and runs your tests, and then you can declare dependencies between those tests, and it automatically like resolves those and runs the tests in the correct order without you having to like. I think that's one of the things with PHP unit is you have to you have to manually make sure the tests are run in the correct order to resolve dependencies, and this framework doesn't do that. Yeah. It also does thing with buffering output. So um, if you're doing like print debugging or like terminal debugging, where you're just printing out output, it normally suppresses it unless it happens during like a test that fails. So then because you're normally running like the same code over and over and over again with tests, and if like you end up with like 100 um, lines of output or whatever, it's like, well, I don't know which one's my actual test. So this one like suppresses the output unless it's the test that fails. So it just does a bunch of nice things to kind of improve like my quality of life for me. So and it was like also all stuff I didn't know how to do. Like I had to learn how to do all of that. Um, and then like PHP, I think also like similar to JavaScript has like loose and strict comparison, and depending on how you do the comparison, values may or may not be equal. So like I implemented my own diff algorithm to be aware of like basically be type aware and comparison aware. Yeah, exactly like that. And so the problem is if you have some other I guess I can just uh well, so basically, right, if I have array 1 and then I have a couple functions. I have like its spell. So identical is like strict comparison, like triple equals, and then equal is loose comparison. Correct. Yeah, I'm trying to intentionally cause this to fail. So right, you can see here this is loose comparison. So here it shows you that 1, 2, 3 is okay, but 4 doesn't match. Oops, 4 doesn't match 5. But here, since it's a strict comparison, you can see it does everything doesn't match. So, because I think a lot of frameworks would just sort of kind of cast these two things to like a string, and so you would always get this. Right? They kind of pretty print whatever the value is and then do a diff against that string. So you would always get this, and you'd have to figure out which one doesn't match. But this one, um, it's type aware. And then I know this is a little bit screwy, but I also kind of did this for less than an equal. So yeah, this was a little bit screwy, and this is one of the things where having more of a user base would kind of help with this formatting. But yeah, right, this is saying it's strictly less, so this sequence basically has to be made less than this sequence. But then this is less or equal, so this is just saying like 5. These are fine, although you could change any of those to sort of make that comparison match. But what's really causing this to fail is this 5 needs to be less than or equal to 4. Yeah, I mean, these are sort of, I feel like any framework, these are kind of like standard assertions built into the framework. But the framework also just supports PHP's built-in so this is PHP's built-in assert function. You just don't get as nice of output because we have no way to sort of parse that. But there's some, like I think PHP unit used to not even support, like if you made this assertion, it would be fine. I don't know. Yeah. Uh, well, I guess I find it sort of funny that Python is adding type hinting, and PHP has steadily adding has been adding types to it. Like this is, I'm kind of used to writing old PHP, but in PHP 8.0, like this would all be, you could specify return types and everything here. Watch my framework break horribly now that I've done that. Okay, it actually works. Whew. But and then right, even with JavaScript, you have TypeScript. So I guess that's not necessarily the same as dynamic types. So static typing, you definitely want static typing. Like I guess I feel like there's subtlety in language that where dynamic means you can change the type of a variable. Like I guess that's less of an issue, but being able to do like static type analysis, I think is super important because right, I use a static analyzer on my code here, and there are so many, like half the time I'll just change something and then let the static analyzer finds everything that breaks because the types, right, I changed the type or the return value or something. Whereas if I didn't have that, I basically have to compensate for that with test coverage, which I would have to manually write. And then you wouldn't necessarily get a fail, like it wouldn't necessarily tell you what where specifically what broke, it would just write, you would get, hey, the test failed. So I guess static analysis is, I don't know, I wouldn't want to write code without a static analyzer these days. And so that's kind of pushing me towards something like C or C++ because that's all built into the language. Like one of the problems with PHP is, right, since it's interpreted, all the types are, the type verification is done at runtime. So there's like runtime overhead of making sure that the arguments you pass are the correct type. And it's one of the reasons they don't have typed arrays. You can specify just a generic array, but you can't specify like int or something like that, or because otherwise at runtime it would have to check every value in the array to make sure it's an int. So I don't know if that answered your question at all. I feel like I kind of rambled a little bit, but I guess I'm fine with static types because I'm working in I guess it doesn't matter, but I've got all my types where I can explicitly state them. I have them stated, or I have them sort of hinted here for the static analyzer. But like, because one of the reasons I can't just do this directly is I'm supporting old versions, but nowadays I could just do that. And I guess I could specify if I was supporting only like PHP 8 or 8.1, I think I could just specify this all directly in the code. Yeah, a little bit. Oops. Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I have done some browser programming. I never used. I did I did just personally like a game in the browser, like a breakout game, just using JavaScript. If I was going to do that again, I'd probably use TypeScript. But I have done professionally. I did some, like, I wouldn't call myself like a designer really, but I did do some stuff with like web maps and integrating with like web servers in the browser, kind of like a Google Maps sort of thing. So I'm not super experienced with that type of programming, but I have done it. And I don't know, programming a game in the browser doesn't. I guess that's technically front end, but right, you grab a canvas and then you write everything in code. You're not actually interacting with the DOM or anything, so it's not quite the same, I guess. All right. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I don't know, I haven't used any of the like front end frameworks like React or Angular or whatever. I guess React, I feel like React's probably the most popular, so, but I'm more apt to just sit down and program against the DOM directly. But I figure if you know how that works, you can probably pick up a framework. I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong attitude, but yeah, I haven't used TypeScript in big projects. There was like a tutorial series I was following for like writing games, like writing a game in the browser or game engine, and that tutorial used TypeScript, so that's kind of my only experience with it. But So I didn't do like a real project with it. But yeah, I guess it kind of does. Like there are definitely things in like my test framework that I've written certain ways just to make the static analyzer happy. Well, I think it can infer, right? You don't need to type everything, right? Or does it yell at you? I guess it's been a while since I've used it. Because I think basically if you set, right, if you type return arguments and parameters, everything else can be inferred. Okay. Huh, yeah. Well, I also remember being a little bit annoying having to have to go through, like, as you can kind of configure what it yells at you about. And some things I wanted it to yell me about, but I had to set, and then other things it would, I feel like it would yell at me about. I'm like, well, this doesn't really matter, so stop yelling at me. But yeah, so it's kind of annoying to have to sort of going to configure all that. Although, right, you're talking about C, the C, the C compiler will let you get away with incredibly broken code. You've got to go in and set all that. So I guess that's not much different than compiling in C. All right, I gonna take a little bit of a bathroom break, but they've shut off the water in my building. Well, not my like on my floor. Well, most of the floor, like my in my building, except for like the common area. So I'm gonna have to step out for a few minutes because I have to like catch the elevator downstairs. So I'm gonna be gone, I guess, for probably about 10 minutes, just for like a 2 minute bathroom break. Um, cool. Uh, nice. Yeah. Water break, stretch break, get up and walk around, get the blood circulating. But yeah, I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay. I remember there's a bathroom up on the top floor that I guess was open, so saved a lot of time. I grabbed some pretzels while I was at it. Oh, no worries. Hmm. I guess this is an open question here. Uh, it's not clear to me. So I think that's probably the only potential. Oh wow, nice. You're offsetting the cookies with the juice, I guess. So this to-do does feel very finicky to me, and I can't really even test it in my system. But let me just I believe we have that done other than potentially more testing. I'm just going through the to-do. Most of what's left in this to-do file, and I've kind of started just putting those in, adding them to the code, which I guess is controversial, but I like being able to just do a grep on to-do, and it shows me all of them, like right in context with the code. Oops. And so I've kind of been moving them out of this file. Yeah. Well, I don't know a ton of them, but grep is definitely useful to know if you're on Linux. So that just tells me every file in my source directory that has a to-do and what the to-do is. So and I really like having that. I really like, because I have some notes in here, especially for testing, where I don't even know if these are issues anymore, but I don't even know what code it was referring to. Yeah, I mean, I'm not like a grep wizard. At least I don't think I am. I guess it depends on how much. I'm probably a grep wizard to somebody that doesn't know anything. Yeah, but I know. Like I use this a lot because this is just it recursively searches the directory instead of one file, and then this just gives me the line number. So I use that like I could probably almost make a bash alias for that, but I'm also would have to look up to see how to do that. I know what I'd use, and that's about it. So this is all testing stuff. Oh yeah. I know there may be way well, I guess if that does a file system search. Because otherwise you actually need to have the file open in your editor, right? Oh, okay. Right, yeah. I used to use Genie before I used NeoVim, and I think it did something like that. Well, what do I have here in my to-dos? Speaking of to-dos. Keep forgetting about that one. Oh, yeah, okay, I know what that is. Oh, yeah, let me just take a look at this one real quick. That was in what? Remove 203. So I have this. Okay. I'm trying to think why I would have had that in there. Um, Yeah, well, it turns into pain because you have to double escape the backslashes. And this actually isn't what the regular expression is should be either. It should be what file is that in? Util? Oops. Everywhere you see a slash W, it should really be this. Which is why I just use slash W. I didn't feel like typing that in. No, it does do slash W, but I'm trying to parse identifiers here, and this is in the documentation of what a legal PHP identifier looks like. So this doesn't actually match against all legal identifiers. I guess what I really want here is what line is this? 203 or so. No, I just dumped this in there. Did I move that from somewhere? I did move it from somewhere else. So this is in what? Normalize name and run. How do I start? I guess that. No, not normalize run. Right, what was that? But I want the parent of normalize run. So that was there. Why is... I'm confused why that has... This is not a commit, is it? I feel like... I don't know why that's giving me... That's giving me an actual commit. I guess I don't know how to use git blame very well. What happens if I do that? Oh. So can I do that? Okay. So I wonder what this means. I feel like because it has this the hat in front of it. I don't know. Well, guess you never know until you try. Yeah, okay. And I thought I typed that in. And apparently that's the only thing in that commit. So it doesn't look like it. I wonder because what file is that in? Run? Well, it comes after. The hat comes after. So it would be head. It would be head. It would be that. Right. I guess I could be moderately smart about this and yeah, well that didn't work. Hmm. So I don't know why. I feel like that should. Does that? Okay, now this is. Now I'm getting really confused. Didn't that tell me that was a commit? I'm just trying to figure out where I changed. I feel like I changed this regular expression here. And I was just trying to find where I initially put that in. But I'm not getting any sort of log. Is this like not even, maybe this isn't even a real commit. I don't know. It's not worth it. Because I was just, right, I had this white space here at the end. So basically, this function here, it resolves a test name, and this comes into play. Here, where you can declare dependencies between. Well, I guess this actually isn't a good test, or it is a good test, but not the right place to look. So here, every test gets past this context object, and if you want to declare basically a dependency on another test, you can pass in you call this requires method on the context and can give it other test names. And so this is the function that sort of tries to resolve this to, because this also does a little bit of implicit, like, since we're in depends the depends past namespace, this will automatically put the namespace on here and stuff. And so this is just where we're actually parsing the name, and this is where we actually look to see what you typed in. Because, right, you could potentially have like a fully qualified name that has a namespace. So this is just a function name, so it'll just match on this last part here. Basically, this function, because I'm capturing these three different possibilities. So that's just a function, but since we're in the depends namespace, right, you could also have typed that for a fully qualified function or any other, something like that to qualify it, and that would be captured by the namespace. Or you could also type in that to match to some class method. So this is just where I'm trying to figure out what you typed in, and I feel like I changed this at one point. And I'm just wondering why I have this allowing a trailing white space. I guess it's not a big deal, but it just doesn't seem like something that. Right, yeah. And so I was just curious to find out where I had changed it and why I had that in there, but I think I'm just going to delete it, yeah. Because all my tests pass. True. Because it's already optional. You're right. I guess I could try. Where's this in? Tests? Or run? No, tests. This is down here at the bottom. Right, because we're only allowing empty space, like kind of empty space. Oh, I thought I had. Oh, hold on one second. Let me take this call. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. Just an out of town friend. Uh, and I didn't want to just blow them off, but I also don't want to end the stream. Yeah, I was just. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. I'll just delete it. But I was just curious to see. You're right. None of this like this is already optional, so it's like optional. Uh, so I was just curious what I had in there before, and thanks. I guess I get so it's not in here either. I have no idea. What was the name of it? Normalize? Okay. I'm giving up. I decided I don't care that much. I was just gonna say, I guess when you're streaming, you kind of get, there's always like a performance, like there's other people watching you, sort of thing. So, wait, what did I change in targets? Oh yeah, I guess technically I have two commits here. I don't know. So we can be OCD about this. Yeah, you're right. No, it's optional. Uh, oh wait. Oh yes. Because I do. So in a class, I allow you to. Um, so that is weird. I hadn't thought of that case. But what I wanted to do was allow you to, if you're in a, because right, if you, where are we here? Test. If you're in a class, if you do test 2, it finds this function. But if you wanted to do this test 2, I wanted you to be able to do like that. To say test 2 that's not in a class. So this would only be valid in a class, but I probably don't have enough like robust testing in there. And now I'm a little bit curious what. Oh, I guess I tested for that. What happens if I just type that in? I guess I need. Oh. Well, I don't know what the oh, this is just so there's two different things going on here. It's just seeing. I think in PHP, so PHP is a little screwy. I think, especially with single quotes, if the following character isn't recognized as an escape character, it just treats the character. I mean, we don't have to speculate. We can just. So yeah, because /: isn't a valid escape sequence, it just treats that as unescaped. But I don't like relying on that. So you can see this is the same thing. So it's just kind of an oversight that I hadn't done that. Yeah, PHP. So I guess what's interesting about this is that that's the same thing, right? Yeah. So I guess I'm not sure what I think about that. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I don't know. I mean, I guess just leave that test in there. Because I assume, yeah. So I'm not sure if that's what we want, but because so right, we're doing two tests here. We're resolving this from if we're in the context of a function or in the context of a method. So where is there an example of this? Right, and then this all calls through these common functions that pass different defaults in. So if we're from a function, we just pass in a default namespace. And if we're in a class, or we're calling that from a method, we pass in just the default class. So you can see here, if we just type in a function name, it defaults to whatever the current namespace is. And if we're in a class, it defaults to whatever the current another method in the current class. But by sticking this double colon, it's saying don't, I don't know, I guess it's a little bit weird, but it's saying don't use a function, not a method in the current namespace. Because, right, this is also not different than, or this is different than this, which is explicitly saying this is a global function. I don't know if that makes any sense. Again, I guess it's one of those things where it's hard to tell what the right thing to do is without having a user base. Yeah, well, it's not standard. I mean, it's not right. We're sort of doing our own magic here just to try and make life a little bit easier. Because again, like, right here, if we wanted this test to, we would have to, right, explicitly specify, otherwise, because we're already in a namespace, we'd have to explicitly specify the namespace. So this is just kind of trying to make life a little bit easier by saying, well, you just need to do that, and it'll do a function in the current namespace, or in the same namespace as this class, but it's going to look for a function, not a method. I don't know. That was the thinking. And it's probably an edge case on top of it. Because like somebody's either going to be using classes or functions, right? So it's probably more of an edge case than a legitimate use case. Huh. Well, the only thing though, excuse me, is you can require multiple tests. So you could do like, you could do that to say, excuse me, that this depends on both test 2 and test 1. So it just added them in like PHP 8.1. So it's kind of a trade-off between trying to make things simple to type. Right, yeah. I mean, it would almost be, and I kind of wanted to avoid something like, new requirement, just to type that. And I guess, right, you could, true for a method or something, right? But yeah, you're kind of right. It would, when all you want to do is just type a name in here. I don't even know what. Make sure I put this back in working order here. Right, yeah. I mean, the other thing though too, right? And maybe I could just um I don't know, it's a little bit because you can call requires multiple times, so this you can either do that or that, and that's like this in theory is the same as this, I guess. So I don't know, it could be an option just to like only allow you to do one at a time, but I don't know. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, that's kind of why I picked that. And so I guess my thinking was it's almost kind of like empty binding, like but don't bind it to anything. Right, yeah. Well, that's how you would do it statically. So this that would be like a static function, at least in PHP. Yeah, so that would be a static method invocation. Right. And to do, you know, and this is just an non-static, I guess. So yeah. So I guess I was just trying to be clever and be like, well, if you want to unbind it, just bind it to nothing. To indicate it's a function, right? Functions aren't bound to anything, so I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's not actually legal syntax within PHP. Um, yeah. And also, I think it probably, like I said, it's probably more of an edge case because I feel like if people are going to be writing their tests, they're either going to, excuse me, have everything in a class, or they're just going to be using functions, and they won't really, right? Because here you would do test test two to depend on this method. So I don't know. And then from here, right, if we had another test, you could, or another class, you could do like some other class. So I don't know. And that would just mean no class, I guess. Well, right, you can't do it on anything. It only it right it's because right it's going to take whatever you specify and then look for that as a valid test. So right, if I did requires, See, it's going to say this test depends on. Well, actually, jeez, on Populator Day. This would be. See, or oh, that's right. So it does. You do get that right. It's gonna right when you declare requires. It's gonna look for this and say, okay, this hasn't been run yet, so I'm gonna postpone this test. And then when it comes time to resolve dependencies, it would say this test was never run, and so you're gonna get an error at the end saying this test depends on right this, but it was never run as a test. So it only validates these identifiers against valid tests in the test suite. Yeah, I think. Yeah, it tells you that invalid test name. That might be. Where is this here? No, I guess that probably wouldn't be, would it? Yeah. So that would probably mean going away from a regex, which isn't a problem. And probably the better solution anyway, but we'd probably have to like explicitly parse it. I'm trying to think. Yeah. Well, I don't know. See, right, because what we're saying here is like I wouldn't. I guess that's the limits of my regex. We're saying this without a class like this is okay either with nothing before it or a class name before it. And if there's a class name here or no class name, right? We have kind of like an exclusion here where um, right, this can all be optional, but you see what I'm saying? Well, I'm just saying you don't have to fully qualify the namespace for the class, right? So where was, right, if I do, that should still work, right? Because we're saying, oh, this class, right? We're automatically qualifying the class name as well, right? Correct, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I feel like there's an exclusion there. There's like a conditional there that I don't know that that could be captured in a regex. Although if you know how, then where is that in yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, right, we could still do this and just put more logic down here where if there's a namespace in the class just equals that. So we don't necessarily need to handle it. We can, right, because we also check all of this stuff too. So we could put some logic in there, I guess. So we don't have to do everything in a regex. Yeah, it is. That was that other test in there. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. That was in what? Resolve. What did I call it? I think that's interesting. Okay, that's invalid. So you get one leading, right? And we can just be sure. So yeah, that was the input. And null just means it was not a valid name. No, we allow an optional leading namespace or namespace separator. And then in order to have any others, you have to have at least one character there. One word character. So two slashes would not fail because there's no other point. Yeah. No, it's it does. I guess I've never gotten that I guess I've never gotten that into at least I think it does. Back references maybe? I don't know. The hard part is finding where it's documented. Conditional subpatterns? Yeah, good luck reading that. So beginning of the word, but could I do that? Right, because I already have the beginning of line or beginning of the string, I guess. Here, right? Boy, it is getting gray. I guess the rain is coming tonight. But it might be worth, I don't know, pulling some of this stuff out anyway, because there's some other work I might want to do. Oh, really? So you could have multiple sort of start of string markers? So you're kind of talking about, talking about that? I guess it does. Because now those two tests are failing. That's what happens to regexes, right? So maybe we just do that. I don't know. Because I do remember kind of now that this test is in here thinking like, well, that's weird. But I guess it didn't occur to me to just treat that as a... Well, what? Yeah, I don't think PHP unfortunately has like regex literals. But if you think that's bad, we could make our regex delimiter a backslash. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't even want to think about that. Because these actually delimit the regex because I can put some options after here. Should we walk down the paths of insanity? I wonder if that works. I probably didn't even do that right. Oh, no, okay. All right, well, I don't even know what broke. That's okay. I'm kind of glad that didn't work, to be honest with you. Oh, you might be right. Oh, you're right. Don't I have a backslash in here? Isn't that what that is? I don't know if I trust you. Okay. Oh, must not be. Yeah, reading helps. Reading helps. Well, anyway, like I said, I'm glad there's a part of me that's happy that doesn't work. At the same time, there's a part of me that's a little bit sad. All right, well that was fun. I bet I have 100 viewers now with all the regex fun. All right, so what did we accomplish there? Okay. Um, yeah, if you ever find yourself in a PHP code base, take solace in that. All right, let me just make sure that worked. And I may actually end up wrapping up the stream on that note. I have some things I need to take. Well, I'm going out a little bit later tonight, and I have some things I want to take care of this afternoon. And the next thing I kind of want to work on is probably right. So kind of the theoretically the next big to do is I need to. That is an old method name. Is respecting imports in the current namespace, which means parsing those and keeping track of those, and then updating like just that part of that function we were working on. Maybe not. Maybe that logic isn't in that function, but that whole process of resolving the name and then looking that up. But so that's a little bit of work. Because I'd have to update my parser to actually now parse using statements. But I think everything works here. So yeah, I guess I'm going to call that then. Well, Hagel, thanks so much for hanging out in chat and helping me with the regex. Fun with regex. Yeah, celebrate the wins. And I guess I'm going to wrap up. If anybody else is lurking, thanks so much for joining me. Or if you're watching on the VOD after the fact, thank you also for joining me. And whoever or wherever or whenever you are, I bid you peace and take care.